In this video, we will learn how to insert data into the database. In the college database, I have a test table. And in this table, I have an ID, it's an auto number, a first name, last name, gender, and age. Notice I have 6 rows. Originally I had 4, but I was playing around with it. If I were to delete these rows, which I can, and now they're deleted, the next time I insert a row, it will not start with number 5 because number 5 has already been used, and so has number 6. It will start with number 7. Here I have an HTML form, and I have 4 fields. 3 are text boxes, 1 is a drop-down list. If we look at the structure of our table, notice the ID is an auto number. That will automatically be inserted. I don't need a text box for it because it will automatically be inserted. If it was not an auto number, I would need a text box. So we do not have a text box for the ID field, which is an auto number. The first name and last name are text data, the varchar. Gender is a enum, and that will be coming from my drop-down list. And I do have validation on this, making sure that they will select the correct one. The age is an integer. Notice that the age data is coming from a text box. Therefore, it is coming in as text. In order for the data to be inserted into this table, the data type has to match. Therefore, because the data is coming from a text box, I need to convert that number to an integer before it goes into the database, or else we're going to have an error. Also, supposing the last name is something like this, O'Reilly. In our SQL statement, we have quotes around variables. What happens if there's a quote inside the value of the variable? These potential single quotes need to be dealt with. And there is a function to do that, to deal with the quotes and for the conversion that I will show you in the PHP. So it is very important that the form is set up correctly and the data coming from the form is in the correct format and the correct data type to be inserted into the database, or else it will not be. Let's put Teresa Pelkie back in here. Now, if I submit this, notice I did not fill out this field. Here is my PHP page. So I have error checking on this page. I could have put the error checking on this page. Now, when I put my wonderful age in there and I submit the data, it's just telling me that the data has been inserted. Let's go look at the database. There we are. As I said, ID 7, and here I am. Let's take a look at the source code. The HTML is plain HTML, and the action is this PHP page. At the top of the PHP page, I need to have my database connection. I also have to initialize my variable for my messages being displayed to the user. Now setting my connection object, and I am using MySQL object-oriented. I'm checking to see if the connection might fail, giving the user an error message, else I have my test, else it's commented out. Now we have to make sure, because we are going to retrieve the values with the $_post server variable, we need to make sure they're coming in as a post. So I have a main if up here, and we have to make sure that they're not empty. And what I did on that HTML form for the drop-down list, the first value, please select 1, was technically empty, so we would get an error message if they did not make a valid choice. Here is just a test echo. Now I am going to retrieve the values from the form and store them in 4 different variables. However, because these are text boxes, I'm going to trim first. Then I'm going to use the HTML entities function to make sure that no malicious code has been entered. I do this for the first name, the last name, and even for the gender, even though it's a drop-down list. I'm also doing this for age. Now remember, this is text. This is the int val function. And what that does, it's going to essentially return an integer value. because even though it's a number, it is looked at as text, and we have to convert it to an integer or else it cannot be inserted into the database. Now we have another interesting PHP function called add CS slashes. And what that will do, that will escape, and an escape is a backslash in front of a character that we specify based on the fields we specify. So we're concerned with the first name and the last name. What character we're concerned with is the single quote, because if that single quote is there, it will interfere with our SQL statement. Now, here is our SQL statement. Insert into the name of the table, which is test. These are the field names. Notice, we do not need to put ID in. It's automatically taken care of because it's an auto number. So these are the 4 fields, and these are the values that are going into the 4 fields. You can only insert 1 record at a time. This is a variable right here, $FNAME. We defined that up here already. Why do I have quotes around it? Because it is being inserted as text data. Therefore, it's looking for a string coming across. Even though technically the variable is holding a string value, you still need to put those quotes around it. And this is why we're going to escape those quotes here in the event that there was a single quote in a last name, because we would get an error message if we didn't. Here we have our 3 string data, and $age is an integer. We do not put quotes around that. It goes in like that. Here we have our checking to make sure the SQL statement was executed, and here's my success message that the data has been executed, and I'm just echoing back the data. After we're finished, we close the connection. If there is a problem, here we have the data could not be inserted, so this is in our inside if right here. Here's our outer if that went with the is$post, checking to see if the fields are entered, and here's the error message if they weren't. And here's the else on checking for the connection. And in my HTML, I have 1 line of PHP code for my message to the user.